So these files conclusively prove that Iran is brazenly lying when it says it never had a nuclear weapons program. And in a few days' time, President Trump will make his decision on what to do with the nuclear deal. I'm sure he'll do the right thing. The right thing for the United States, the right thing for Israel, and the right thing for the peace of the world.
Well, the Secretary of Defense right now, Mattis, said we put this deal together assuming they would try to cheat. So it wasn't done assuming that they would change as a state actor, Iran. Nobody went into it with their eyes closed to that, that reality. But it's better than nothing.
There are many premises that are incorrect in your statement.
Please.
The first is we're better off because we have this deal. No, you're not. Because this deal, the fact that you have a dangerous deal, the fact that Iran is keeping or not violating a dangerous deal doesn't make it less dangerous. It's completely flawed. It's based on lies. It's based on the fact that they hid the nuclear weapons program and knowledge that they stored up. They didn't come clean with it. And it's also based on the fact that Iran will somehow be a docile neighbor. That's not what's happening. The opposite has happened. I said that Iran is not going to be more pacific, more moderate once you sign the deal. And it's exactly what has happened. Iran has done the very opposite. It's taken in the money, the billions, and it's using it to conquer Yemen, to fire rockets on Saudi Arabia, to colonize Syria militarily, to arm Hezbollah with the most dangerous missiles on earth, to call for Israel's annihilation, to spread its totalitarian wings throughout the Middle East, and to oppress its people inside Iran to boot. So the whole premise that this deal somehow guarantees a safer, more moderate Iran is wrong. This deal pays. Second thing, I think you have to insist that you actually dismantle the components that allow Iran to produce an arsenal of nuclear weapons. If you don't, and you do nothing, then I predict that what you'll do is head right into a wall. You'd head into a terrible conflict and perhaps a terrible war in which Iran would be armed with nuclear weapons. That's bad. If you want peace.
It seems as though you are indicating that you are on the precipice of war with this nation, because that's the only way that you'd be able to guarantee that you smash all of their capabilities and stop all of their evil outreach in the surrounding region, as you described. Is that what you mean?
That kind of development. Iran is the one that's changing the rules in the region. Iran is the one that is practicing aggression against every country in the Middle East. Iran is firing rockets into the capitals of neighboring countries, and Iran is preparing 150,000 rockets to be fired in Israel with the explicit goal of annihilating us. Iran is also moving its army. That's its declared purpose, right next to the Golan Heights, right next to Israel. So Iran is obviously on a campaign of aggression. I've learned something from history, and I think you have too. When you have an aggressive, tyrannical regime with a murderous ideology, stop it at the beginning. Don't let that tyranny grow and expand. Don't let that aggression conquer more and more territories.
Right.
So yes, you have to take a stand.
Hello, my name is Javad Zarif, and I'm the Iranian Foreign Minister. Let me make it absolutely clear once and for all. We will neither outsource our security, nor will we renegotiate or add on to a deal we have already implemented in good faith. To put it in real estate terms, when you buy a house and move your family in, or demolish it to build a skyscraper, you cannot come back 2 years later and try to renegotiate the price. In the coming days, the United States will have to decide whether to finally abide by its obligations. Iran stands firm in the face of futile attempts at bullying. But if the US continues to violate the agreement, or if it withdraws altogether, we will exercise our right to respond in a manner of our choosing. Bluster or threats won't get the US a new deal, particularly as it is not honoring the deal it has already made. Relying on cartoonish allegations, rehashed from more than a decade ago and dealt with by the IAEA to make a case for nixing the deal has fooled no one. Thus, the US is well advised to finally start honoring its commitments, or it, and only it, will have to accept responsibility for the consequences of not doing so.
Hours before his self-imposed May 1st deadline, we're learning tonight that President Trump has made a decision on those controversial steel and aluminum tariffs.
Now, these tariffs were set to go into effect tomorrow, a 25% tariff on steel, 10% on aluminum. Just last week, the presidents of France and Germany were at the White House urging him to reconsider.
Der Präsident wird entscheiden.
The president will decide. That is very clear. We had an exchange of views on the current state of affairs of the negotiations and the respective assessments on where we stand on this. And the decision lies with the president.
I'm confident about the future of the trade relationship, as I think it's part of a broader picture where our interests are totally aligned.
Tonight, the White House also announced preliminary agreements with Argentina, Australia, and Brazil that will allow them to avoid the tariffs, at least for now. And that, of course, is in addition to the permanent exemptions on steel tariffs that have already been granted to South Korea. The White House says in all of these negotiations, the administration is focused on quotas that will restrain imports, prevent transshipment, and protect the national security. So Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross says that these countries are going to have to choose either tariffs or quotas. But so far, Canada, Mexico, and the European Union have refused to agree to those terms. About an hour ago, a spokesperson for the British government released a statement that says we will continue to work closely with our EU partners and the U.S. government to achieve a permanent exemption.
Yeah, look, I mean, everybody knows that China has been subsidizing steel and aluminum production, and that's caused a glut of steel worldwide, sending prices down. So the EU and the U.S. get that. The question is, how do you deal with it? The EU has said, let's go to the World Trade Organization, let's litigate this thing. And President Trump has said that just hasn't worked. So we want to do something that we think will work, and he's trying to push quotas and tariffs as a way to do that, to really force our partners. If they really think this is a problem, then get on it and do something about it. And the only way to do that is to bring a stick to the conversation.
After his historic meeting with South Korea's president, Kim Jong-un is promising to shut down his country's nuclear test site in May. The notoriously secret regime promising to do it in the open. Skeptics worried about taking North Korea at its word. Here's ABC's James Longman.
Tonight, the prospects for peace seemingly one step closer. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un with a new pledge. He will allow US and South Korean experts to watch the secretive regime close down its nuclear test site, Punggye-ri, in May, telling his southern neighbor he'd even let journalists come to the facility to ensure transparency, and that President Trump will realize he is not that kind of person to shoot missiles at the United States. South Korean officials say these new promises were made during Friday's historic summit, where the North and South committed to the complete denuclearization of the peninsula. President Trump making it clear where he thinks credit is due.
Now, they were saying, what do you think President Trump had to do with it? I'll tell you what. Like, how about everything?
But there's reason for caution. North Korea has broken promises before. Speaking exclusively on This Week, new Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who weeks ago secretly traveled to meet Kim, saying the administration knows the risks.
We're not going to take promises. We're not going to take words. We're going to look for actions and deeds.
And with the stage set in the next few weeks for a Trump-Kim summit, Pompeo saying the North Korean leader will soon have a big decision to make.
President Trump has put economic pressure on the North Koreans, and it appears to have given us this opening, this real opportunity for something that would be transformative for the world if we can achieve it.
The rogue regime reportedly agreeing to release these 3 Americans who have been held captive in a North Korean labor camp. Kim Dong-chul, Kim Sang-duk, and who's also known as Tony Kim, and the third gentleman who is known as Kim Hak-song.